Buenos días a todos.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 10th Symposium Felipe Segovia. Good morning, I'm Daniela, and I'm a SEC International School student for the last 8 years. Remember that you can interact and provide your opinions through the social media with the hashtag you have on the screen. Before we start, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Maria Rico. I've been a student at the Faculty of Education of the University of Camilo, Cela, and I've been a primary teacher, and I'm now a faculty member. We want to send a very special hug to our entire community that follows us virtually in this celebration of learning. We would also like to thank the students of the 3rd International Congress, Empowering Young Voices for a Sustainable Future, for being a very important part of these days. We want to start this symposium by remembering the previous editions, as this is the 10th symposium edition. The objective of these meetings has always been to keep the legacy of Mr. Felipe Segovia alive. Let's see the video.
Desde nuestros inicios en la
From the beginning in our SEC education, we believe that sharing together, we manage to teach as we learn. It was on November 13th, 2015, when we inaugurated what immediately became an open cross-sectional space, both for teachers and students. This is what, as of today, there are subtitles.
Este simposium se realiza todos los años con participación de toda nuestra comunidad. Un encuentro que, en palabras de nuestra presidenta Nieves Segovia, es un lugar donde exponer, destacar y compartir nuestras mejores prácticas educativas. Una oportunidad donde la investigación y la colaboración son la esencia de su éxito. Así pues, este recorrido se inició hace 10 años, teniendo como eje principal al alumno como medida de toda la vida y pedagogía de la institución SEC. De esta manera, y colocando nuestro ideal junto a las estrellas, se dio el pistoletazo de salida a la primera edición. Este primer simposium marcaría el formato que seguirían las siguientes ediciones, con 3 paneles distintos y con las plataformas digitales como protagonistas de un evento que reúne a toda la comunidad SEC. Hemos emprendido iniciativas relacionadas con los espacios abiertos, los espacios maker y otras muchas experiencias de aprendizaje. Trabajamos para que este evento sea un acontecimiento esperado con ilusión por todos los integrantes de nuestra institución. Ya en su tercera edición e incorporando las experiencias educativas de los colegios SEC y de la Universidad Camilo Cela, logramos reunir a más de 450 profesionales, marcando un hito histórico para la institución, ya que se cumplían 125 años desde que sus puertas se abrieron al mundo. La idea central elegida entonces fue: a enseñar se aprende cada día. En la quinta edición, el tema central del evento fue nuestro modelo educativo Aula Inteligente. Docentes de nuestros colegios y de la universidad reflexionaron sobre su esencia, su presente y su futuro, dando paso así a nuestro modelo actual, SEC Future Learning Model. En el año 2020, durante la pandemia, los muros nunca habían sido tan grandes para la humanidad y una vez más la institución educativa SEC tuvo que derribar los obstáculos y abrirse a nuevos horizontes, marcando un antes y un después en nuestra forma de educar y de aprender. El simposium fue 100% virtual, con 1000 participantes y 23 itinerarios. Figuras destacadas como Stephen Heppel o Fernando Reimers aportaron sus experiencias sobre la búsqueda de nuevos desafíos y el renacimiento de la educación. Desde entonces, compartir ha sido más fácil que nunca, pues el formato híbrido nos ha permitido seguir juntos y conectados. 4 años han pasado desde ese evento donde tuvimos que adaptarnos para seguir educando. En las últimas ediciones, hemos reflexionado sobre el perfil competencial SEC, el aprendizaje profesional de nuestros docentes o sobre el perfeccionamiento del ser humano para lograr una sociedad mejor. Podemos decir entonces que hemos alcanzado una meta y que debemos plantearnos otras para así seguir creciendo. Son muchos los docentes que han pasado por la carpa que acoge todos los años uno de los grandes eventos de nuestra institución educativa. Son muchas las prácticas educativas que se han compartido Pues desde 1892, y aún más desde la primera edición de este Symposium Felipe Segovia, el SEC es, ante todo, lo mejor de todos.
A continuación,
Now we give the floor Ms. Nieves Segovia, President of SEC Education Group.
Muy buenos días.
Good morning, everyone. Whoa, so many known faces. And many of you came from a long way. A very special greeting, not for just for the ones who are here today, but especially for the ones who are following us from the degree room, because there was no space here to have everyone on this stand, and especially to the ones who follow us from Dublin, the Alps, on schools in the Middle East, and SEC Riyadh, SEC Qatar.
You're having translation, but I would like to greet you because you're following us online, and it means a lot for us that you belong to our community of teachers, which means our community of learners. I do wish that in the coming years, as I was able to share with you just last week, some of you might be able to join us in person in this great celebration of teaching and learning. Así es que, bueno, bienvenidos a todos.
So welcome all. Everything was said on this presentation already about what is for us this meeting. This is our day. We close it with a SEC day. But this symposium is the moment we give ourselves within our everyday, so hectic life, and every month and every year to share, to learn, to look back, to look forward, to feel as a community that goes beyond our own classroom or our own educational space, whether this is a school or university. It is a privilege for SEK to have a community of faculty and professionals, not just faculty, that goes beyond, that goes through all educational stages, to have the opportunity of learning from each other, and to be able to provide service to society and our students who don't know stages, who doesn't know about ages, which is a continuum. And that's the way we have to live it in our calling, that learningship cannot be in silos, neither them nor ours, or an educational stage or university stage, or learning throughout life. Somehow we've talked throughout the last 10 years about all of this. Every year we found a way, I'm not going to say excuse, but a theme about which we can share best practices, because so many things happened in every classroom that it would be difficult to be able to have all of them on a stage in the different formats, of course, that we've used. And I remember many of them, itineraries, workshops, a longer day, shorter day, and different heads, hybrid format. We adapted to circumstances, and we adapted also to the learning goals we had. And somehow that's what all of us in the classrooms get. You know, this is not our standard, it should not be, and I always like to mention it. Frontal class and so on is not the format that are we going to learn most, and that is why it should not be extended. But this is what we have in hybrid, with a community that fully satisfies me, that is so wide. This year's subject or theme took me back to this sentence from my father, who for sure his legacy is what we celebrate, but legacy in this that my father would have, it only makes sense if it projects towards the future. He was not someone that would just think about those times when this or that initiative happened, but he was thinking about how all those different initiatives could connect and make sense to mention the future, which was the only thing he was interested about. And I was remembering this quote, as many of the quotes from him, This is from 20 years ago, so it kind of makes sense on this liturgy of dates. 10th anniversary, this is 2 decades old, this sentence, and I think it's quite real. And what he anticipated, as so many other things that he anticipated, because it seemed that he had those glasses of saying so much further in the future about the role of education, about our role in the world, about where we had to be to serve better to our students and society as a whole. He already anticipated that a number of transformations were happening around us, many of us technology related, with human development, with different science that converge to actually have science of education. And he mentioned this again and again. We talk a lot about science of education, but we need more science in education. And we're seeing that data analytics, learning analytics, artificial intelligence, and so on. But 20 years ago, he already saw a convergence of disciplines and knowledge that was transforming the playing field. And if that changes, and we want to be players who play and also play for the benefit of that better experience for all our students, we have to understand the size of the field, the tools, the rules, how we can provide all those dimensions without educational space. And we know these are not interdependent, but that they all connect to create something that is a creative construct that help us to change our paradigm, something that him talked again and again. And of course, we are on a breaking point, on a turning point for humanity. We are facing many challenges. We've got the one of artificial intelligence, because it seems to be that dilemma between artificial intelligence and human intelligence, or what we're talking about augmented intelligence. That challenge of what our role is as compared with artificial intelligence, and how we need to interpret it so our students would reach the final goal of knowledge, of wisdom. And that gives us other challenges regarding ethics and freedom, regarding relativism, post-truth, and other things that today we are experiencing, and that are in fact the leitmotif, the quote that the sentence, the motto that we've chosen for our symposium. Digital culture needs to have the purpose of enlarging freedom. I believe this goes straight to the core of all debates we're going to have. What's the final purpose? Freedom is critical thinking. Freedom is being able to choose. Freedom is for our students to have the tools to be citizens, of course, civics and committed, and to make their own decisions. Digital culture, technology, let's call it artificial intelligence, it doesn't matter. There have been many technologies throughout history of education, many. The pencil was one of them, and all of them need to be at the service of something that is bigger than us, and which is perfecting all of us being part of this community, and especially our students. Therefore, we're in a moment of dilemmas. We're in a turning point. We're in a crossword where education institutions, school, university have to make their question of what is our purpose, how can we serve better society, what our students and society need us for, what things we can outsource, automate, and not to do, and what others emerge with the strength because it's part of our intrinsic attributes that are human. This is part of the thoughts that we're going to do today, of our insights today. We know that we're in a more complex environment, more competitive environment, and as I was saying, we don't have enough time to think about all of this that, of course, is important and we're going to do today. We are living in a moment of change, a turning point, as I mentioned, that we as an institution, we have to provide an answer to. But as an institution, we are preparing ourselves. We are preparing, and you'll see it, adding more talent than the one we have. We have tons of it, but a new team of leadership that will allow us to keep on growing, that will allow us to keep on improving, that will allow us to keep on learning, which is basically what this is all about. And it will be a pleasure for you to meet our new school general manager. I believe most of you know him, our new dean, Jaime, and our new CEO, executive director, Guillermo. I think you'd like to listen to them to understand how they're working already together in favor of all those values, of all those principles, educational principles that are ours, and that we want to take to that other level. In this stage, we've never done business as usual, but now it's even more important because there's more disruption, and we have to take exponential leap that is even more important. They are added to this huge team, and I will take this opportunity to welcome, because today you're going to be surrounded by wonderful professors from all of our institution. It is a privilege. I believe you're also going to learn, because the three of you have the calling of the one who wants to learn, a student mindset, the humility to understand that only getting better, and an environment like this is of course the best place to do this. So I would like to take this opportunity to publicly welcome you. Dean, General Manager of schools, that doesn't mean that professors or teachers will not interact, and so what we want is for this to be cross-sectional, and Guillermo is here to find new spaces, new projects that will allow for cross-sectionality to happen. Society already divides us enough. This is a school, this is a university. We have to break those barriers that exist here. And I hope that in workshops and conversations, that community sense happens. Schools, university, different schools, different faculties, different staff, we all share what we do, because at the end of the day is, or it should be, quite similar if we're doing this properly. Therefore, I say that we get ready within a structure that will allow us to keep on growing, to be better every day, and then we'll keep on thinking what we're thinking. We are reviewing smart school classrooms in artificial intelligence with Project Zero and Daniel Wilson. We are also reviewing and rethinking on how to move on a strategic plan that will allow us to have more visibility, to keep on growing, to keep on providing the necessary resources on the places where they're needed. We'll keep on moving forward our policy of data management that will allow us to make more informed decisions inside and outside the classroom. So we keep on moving forward in so many things and initiatives that is not my place to talk about. They will do that throughout the rest of the morning, and there will be other presentations that I hope that will inspire us and give us ideas on different things. So we're in a magnificent place. We're in the right place if we want to have a better society, if we want to have a better world. We are lucky in that sense. And today we're going to give ourselves this day to enjoy, to meet, because you will meet for the first time many colleagues that probably until now you didn't have the opportunity to meet. So welcome to our day, and of course thank you all. And I know it's tons of you, I don't want to mention any of you because probably I will leave some out, but you can imagine the whole work behind a day like today. It was a huge effort. There's a huge team, wonderful team that prepared all of this with all the love, and many of you traveled from really far away for the service of the love that you also provide in your work. So thank you and welcome to our symposium. The next presentation is from Fernando Diaz. He is the founder of Mento, a company devoted to generate software for education based on artificial intelligence. He was already with us on the Global Education Forum in May. Fernando, if you will, come up here because we really want to hear from you and your story and your experience.
Buenos días y muchas gracias.
Good morning, and thank you for being here, for inviting me back to this stage. I love to be with so many members of the faculty, and although they introduced me as a founder and leader of an e-tech, I'm also a teacher, and I see myself as a teacher with a teacher schooling that is still at school. To be here, I had to leave my students learning by themselves today, and they're really good thanks to technology, having a student class with a Harvard professor that is dictating through the internet. I didn't have to talk to him. He has his course, his school justice, and I can leave my students on a class with one of the best ethical philosophy of the world. Today, thinking about that, I would like to tell you something that probably you heard a bit, which is that artificial intelligence is a new boom. Some of you heard that before. A couple of years ago, November 22nd, 2022, they launched ChatGPT for the first time as an app. It was not a new technology. GPT, which is behind GPT, is a technology that started in 2015, 2016, but the first product that actually revolutionized the world is this one, because they have a chatbot that we see better and better interacting with a human as a human, and that convinces and understands natural language. It talks as like another human and convinces, and all that boom of artificial intelligence that has started happening. I think you saw this before. ChatGPT grew at a speed that none other technology company achieved as of today. In just 2 months, they already had 100 million users, which Facebook, Instagram, TikTok didn't achieve. But not just that, but they woke up on a great awakening of artificial intelligence. All the people started doing things, and they were kind of forced by OpenAI and ChatGPT to get new things. Khan Academy, the educational company, is working for a while with Camilo, the tutor for students within the math platform. Google first got the BART model, and then it says, okay, this is too small, we need a new one, and they got Gemini, a multi-model model that understands language, but also understand images, also understand videos. And this happened just a sort of time after ChatGPT. In March this year, also Google said, okay, these models like Gemini and ChatGPT are generic models. They call it foundational models, but they're not thought for a specific environments. And they launched this Learn LM, which is specifically trained for educational context, and Google, which is open source philosophy, not just generated a model, but wrote papers. And who wants to understand how this works, we can read and learn from that and generate better models. And this is behind one of the products that, if you don't know, I invite you to know, that Google launched, that is a recent revolution, although it's a bit older than a year old, which is called Notebook. And the Google Notebook is an artificial intelligence product that has that behind, but it's not just for tests. We also have artificial intelligence models that create images like Midjourney or DALL-E. Or this year, OpenAI saw something that is not out to the public just because it has tons of risk, and is one that performs videos. I can describe with words or natural language a movie, and this will create it. And it does a really good job creating a movie, but it could not release it to the public because it has tons of challenges. I can do this with artificial intelligence. Imagine a portrait of a kid and a robot with a sense of mystery, having the spectator curious and intrigued. So I no longer need to be able to draw. I need to be able to know how to describe. And this takes us to the question on how important is this advancement. Technology advanced a lot, and there are many technology advancements. But this one, it is such an important one as they told us. This guy, this gentleman who a month ago got the Nobel Prize of Physics this year, Geoffrey Hinton, Toronto, member of the Faculty of Toronto, gave it for the discoveries made artificial intelligence possible. He's one of the parents of the neural networks. This technology, this invention, is as important as the Industrial Revolution or as the will. Bill Gates, a bit less exaggerated, says this is as important as when I went to Xerox PARC in the 1980s, and I saw for the first time a graphic interface when someone was moving something and something was moving on the screen, and that changed forever computation, and we stopped using text. And for the ones who are older, like me, DOS, and those operating systems which you wrote commands, those graphic interfaces that finally made computers to be in the hand of everyone. Ethan Mollick, a Wharton professor specialized in artificial intelligence, thinking on the same lines as, but pay attention because thing that this is that you see in today that blew everybody's mind, that has everybody thinking, dreaming, is the worst AI you will ever use because the only thing this is doing is improving every day. It's better, faster, more efficient, and with better results. So if now you start using artificial intelligence like ChatGPT or Gemini and you feel it frustrating and say, well, this is not as intelligent as they say, think about this. This AI is the rawest one. The really intelligent one will come in a few years. And this gives us a lot of challenges, first for societies, but also for educators. Societies on the one side, and everyone, including ourselves, we have new knowledge. We all need to learn new things, to understand from artificial intelligence, how to use it in the professional area. If I'm the CEO from the SEC group, how am I going to use it in my professional life to be more effective, more efficient, to be a better CEO? How do I do it as a professor so my work as a professor is better? But also, we have tons of challenges from equity. These platforms are really expensive and have environmental costs that are huge. How can we provide access to these tools to the ones who don't know how to pay $20 per month for a tool, which is ridiculously expensive? I come from Latin America, where that is impossible, even for a school, for a university. The largest universities in Colombia cannot pay that access for their professors. Also, those models, and we saw that, and they are lots of warnings on the way they work and the way they're trained, have biases. The ones who manufacture, they call it hallucinations. And that means that they don't say the truth. They say something that is not true. It's not that they lie. To lie, you need to have an intent to lie and to trick someone. These models don't know what is true and what is not, but they make mistakes and they say things that are not right. I teach philosophy and sometimes I ask ChatGPT things for my class, explain the difference between voluntary and non-voluntary actions and involuntary action from Aristotle. It was like a poor explanation. If my students would say that, I would say they're wrong, and the model didn't understand, and I have to activate my critical thinking and say, no, you're wrong, ChatGPT. Involuntary action is not this. This is non-voluntary. Read Aristotle again. And also, our societies are built for a very long time on a trust base, and these models break that confidence, that trust, because they can create what they call big deep fakes that are really real. If I take everything what the Spanish president wrote in his life and I give it to ChatGPT and I say write a press release, that same that was written by the president of Spain is going to be perfect, and it's going to have sentences saying, okay, this is something that the president could have said. Then we have the challenge of us thinking, how can we know if this is true or not, and how can this erode our societies? And there's also a huge ethical challenge. And on the other side is threatening employment, but it's not like industrial revolution. It's not like the time of Henry Ford. It's not blue collars. It's not the ones that have an overall in the production line. These are white-collar jobs that are in danger, the ones who work with the brain in the society of knowledge, because it does the work we do. It does the work of analyzing, describing, thinking. And that's why we call it intelligence. For teachers in general, specifically, I think it has two big challenges that we need to solve. We have to ask ourselves these two things. What is it worth it to learn and to teach? What should we maintain in our curricula? What should we maintain and what should we take away? Assuming that there is artificial intelligence. If in the world there is artificial intelligence, what should we not teach anymore and what should we teach that is new that we were not teaching before? That question was really difficult for math teachers, for instance. We've been asking for 60 years whether there were calculators and computers in the world, how would you teach math differently? And many didn't provide a good answer. With artificial intelligence, it's the same. Assuming these technologies exist, what do we need to teach and what not to. And on the other side is the pedagogical question, the didactic question. How should we teach on a world where artificial intelligence and computers exist? And I would like to give you some ideas that I hope will help you today to motivate your imagination, to wake up your ideas and to think on the kind of things we can do. And I would like to break this down on 3 big moments from the teacher's point of view. Teachers plan and prepare lectures, then we put in practice those lectures, and finally, after the classroom, we have some processes that help us to connect what happened before, what happened during, so we can have the next class. And that's where I believe we can start thinking on how those technologies can help us. On the one side, before the class, and I think this is where we explore most, and we have more tools nowadays, it can help for planning based on high-quality resources, not just what ChatGPT or Gemini have on the knowledge. Because if you just do it like that, probably you will get to a high frustration point. ChatGPT planned the class. It's a class like this one. Okay, stand up here and tell this lecture. But you don't want to teach like that. You want to teach actively. You want classes where students are thinking, when they're involved on learning. And that can happen if you integrate that with high-quality resources and methodology. It can generate contents for students, contents for teachers, text, images, in the future videos, presentations. Probably will not do it by itself. And one of the key rules to use artificial intelligence properly is to have a human in the mid, a human the steering wheel. But it can do it quite well, and it can help with great communication tasks that we have to do all the time. Communication to our colleagues, to families, to students. Now, after each of my classes, I record my classes with my cell phone. And after my class, I ask artificial intelligence to have a summary of the class, and I send it to my students by email. And it takes minutes. But after each class, the ones who did not study in class, that were not there for whatever reason, they have a summary with good notes that it doesn't just say what happened in class, but it tells what is the homework and how they can keep up with what happened in the classroom. And I have a companion in my class with artificial intelligence who's not doing anything for me. I'm still the teacher, but it's helping to facilitate a task that I could not do it if I would have to sit down every day after its class to write down a summary to send it. That will take me 30, 45 minutes every day. I don't have that kind of time, but the model can do it for me. It can be the eyes and the ears in the classroom for me, and it can help me to learn. If I do tasks in groups and I'm in a school with good resources, I can say, okay, record this on your computer. Be in groups of 4 and record it. I cannot be in all groups and talk and listen to all discussions, but I can take that recording, I can transcribe it with artificial intelligence and ask ChatGPT to help ID key ideas in the different groups. And finally, after the classroom, I can use all of that to analyze data, to analyze the speech from my students, to get feedback on their work, for transcripts, and all of that makes my job as a teacher better. But I can also think about the point of view from the student. As a professor, I'm thinking all the time, what do I need my students to do? And over there, I would like to propose 3 ideas. The first one is that these AIs can help us to have role-playing, to have simulations, where we ask artificial intelligence to take a role, for instance, devil's advocates, or discussion companion, and to have an argument with my students. And what I ask them as a task is not to have a text, because ChatGPT does that better, but to have a debate with ChatGPT and then to give me the whole debate. What questions did you ask? What answer did you give to ChatGPT? And that becomes a really interesting interaction. And with that, I can create games and simple simulations. Ethan Mollick has a very nice example on his website where he asked AI to create a game. He's not a programmer. I want a computer game like this, and he would program it by itself. He didn't need to write any code lines, simple games, and that's easy to do. But also, and that's what Khan Academy is doing, some of the things that Google is trying to do, they could be tutors that have a feature that human tutors don't have, is that they have infinite patience for no matter how good of teachers you are. When the third student says, I didn't understand involuntary actions, what do you mean, involuntary and non-voluntary? I try not to put any faces, I breathe, and the student says, okay, this professor thought I was stupid and he didn't want to explain, but this one never gets tired, ever. And I can ask the students to explain ChatGPT, and ChatGPT to be in the student role and ask questions, and that task of explaining something to someone else is one of the most valuable ones to learn. And finally, it could be a mentor, a coach. Not that it would make the homework for the student. That's one of the challenges we all have every day, educators. That is, these technologies can short-circuit learning because we invented tasks that are writing tasks that we've been doing for 500 years in academia. And they have some. If we ask a student to have a summary of a test, we think that they would have to read it. That to have a summary of the first chapter of Ethics of Aristotle, I have to read it, but that's no longer true. I can go to ChatGPT and say, give me a summary of 300 words on the first chapters of Ethics from Aristotle, and it's more or less good. It's not connected with my context, it's not really well landed, it's generic, but if I read it without knowing that that was written by ChatGPT or that that technology exists, I may think, well, one of the best students in my class wrote that, but I can also ask them, okay, be an evaluator. If students need to have the AB history exams, 2 big essays, to ask ChatGPT to write it down probably will not help them and will not be really good on exam, but to help ChatGPT to review that, to provide comments, to assess us, to critique it, to use the IB official brand to do that without writing in test, that's really enriching. As of today, I don't get any final work from my student that ChatGPT has not reviewed before. They have a draft, they get to the class, and I give them a prompt. Go to ChatGPT, and with this prompt, review this, and ChatGPT will provide comments and says what to improve, and they will adjust it. And with their better works that they wrote, not by ChatGPT. It can also help to practice presentation. If I have to perform a presentation in the classroom, I can present that to ChatGPT. Now it understands voice, so I can talk and I can do the presentation out loud. And I can ask for comments. I can ask for feedback. I can ask what to improve. As a student, I can also use it to study, to create a student guide, to create questions, to help me. I have a small 8-year-old child that was studying science and ecosystems, and it has a test, and I sat down with my wife, ChatGPT, help us to study this. We are not biologists, and we don't understand that really well. So we had good examples to sit down to study Nico. The earth is abiotic or biotic, and the parking lot at the university and the school, and it has very good students. I would never leave my 8-year-old alone with ChatGPT, but to the mom and myself who are adults with a critical thinking, it helps us a lot. So it can help in that sense as a mentor, as a coach, or as a co-pilot if we want to get the students all the way there, maybe with the better ones, where we can get drafts, where we can write, they can write tests themselves, they can write codes. Programming classes, engineering classes have to change because as of today, code co-pilots that are on programming platforms make engineers to be able to do 50 or 60 more efficient than they were before using those tools. How we can include that to our students who are learning those functions. And to be able to do that properly, I would like to give you with 6 simple recommendations. The first one and the most important one is the one that you have with number 1. humans on the steering wheel, meaning that decisions have to be made by humans. Humans are the one defining when to use AI, how, and if that use makes sense, without being overburdened but making the decisions. What does that mean? I cannot give an AI model a test for my students, say, assess this, grade it, and just buy that decision. I can say, help me, give me better feedback, but I have to be in the middle. Second, align the use with what Nieves was saying before, science of learning. To have a teacher lens. How can we align this with good pedagogy? How can we do this with good ways of teaching in the sense of the way a professor thinks? My idea is to think about processes more than products. The product is the essay, the monograph that's done by ChatGPT, but not the process of thinking about it, of having a first draft, of writing that first draft and then improving it. If that process, we go together with the student and technology, then we can use AI better. We have to learn how to do it, and that's a challenge. We have to learn how to do it ourselves, and we have to teach the students on how to use it, because they don't know how to use it. We already made that mistake with those technologies in the past. 15, 20 years ago, I told my students, go to Google and search for it. Now I teach them how to teach in Google, and that's part of what we teach in our curricula. We have to also teach it with AI, and we have to teach the ethics of AI, how to be transparent. If I give a text written by AI, I have to say my students, I wrote this with AI, because they're modeling what we want in our societies. We want that if a newspaper is written an article by AI, we want us for them to tell us. If a politician has an ad created with AI, we want them to tell us that was created with AI and not by me. And we have to model that with the students. And finally, I think in that answer of what we need to teach, there are 4 things that we have to focus on. That is the 4 big things that these technologies don't do. They don't know what is true. That is why they hallucinate. We have to help the students to understand that the scientific reasoning process we invented as humans to reach the truth. They don't know what's good. Those models have no ethics. They don't have no concept of goodness or badness. They have no concept of something being beautiful or not. If you take those AI models that create images and you tell them, create a beautiful person, it's going to be a stereotype of a beautiful person. And finally, they don't know what is a work or a beautiful person, and they know how to reason in context. Humans reason with everything that happened in our life, with our vital history and our body. If today I'm hungry and I have a stomach ache or headache, my neurotransmitters work differently and I think differently than if I'm on a different state, if I feel different. And the context, they don't know that I'm here, the Camilo Cela University, and not in Los Andes University in Bogota. They think the same. That's something that can only happen with human beings, to think in that context and to give that context to models to think about it. So I invite you that throughout the day, while you're thinking on how to use artificial intelligence with your students, you bear this very much in mind. But I would like to tell you 1 and 3, humans and the steering wheel, with emphasis on educational processes and not products of learning. Thank you.
Gracias, Fernando.
Thank you, Fernando. Now we would have a video of Daniel and Dan Levi and Angela Perez, who are Harvard University professors who wrote a book. We are going to send you this video through MySec Professional to the educational community so that you can work on the itineraries and enjoy the contributions. Daniela, what do you think about this, the 10th symposium? Well, at the moment it's very interesting and it promises a lot. So get ready to the next intervention. José Antonio Fernández Bravo is a PhD in educational sciences, specializing in didactics, and is a UCJC professor. Is one of the most important international experts in the didactics of mathematics for his innovative approach to education. So you have the floor, José Antonio Fernández Bravo. So human beings are still deceiving, aren't we? Because they said, oh, well, it's true, it's ready. Oh, well. Dear President, dear Rector, authorities, colleagues, educational community, professors, teachers, friends. Well, the friends come always in the end because they understand everything. Good morning. Two madmen wanted to escape the asylum. And they presented this plan to the fellow colleagues. And they said, well, we're going to hide away to escape. We're going to go to the fence. If the fence jumps, if the fence is high, we're going to tunnel underneath. And if the fence is low, we will jump over it. And all the colleagues said, well, it's a perfect plan. So they went away. And after 8 days, the madmen came back to the asylum, and the colleagues were saying, well, what happened? Weren't you able to escape? And they said, no, impossible. We started working, we walked and walked and walked, and there was no fence, We went to the city, we didn't see a fence, and we said, well, let's go back. And they turned around and came back. Oh, so what happens in this case? Well, they make the procedure the goal and the finality. The finality was to be free, the goal was to escape, and the procedure was to jump the fence. However, made a goal out of the procedure. We need to distinguish the procedure from the goal and the finality. Mothers had it had a very clear idea of this. When I was a child and I was going to do something not very good, your mom would open the eyes. You would just stop doing what you were starting to do, and then that's it. And if the owner would say, oh, you can take whatever you want, you would say, no, I'm not hungry, because my mom was opening her eyes like this. And the mother would add, we just had lunch. Well, it was a lie, really. But it was very clear to me. I mean, the procedure was to open the eyes. The goal, the child to be aware of what he should not do, the aim or the finality. Well, the others would say that you are an educated child. So this was very clear. The learning based on projects. Well, learning based on problems, artificial intelligence, all these are procedures. The procedures to teach. The goal is to learn, and the finality is to know. the validity of this procedure is going to be according to the objective and the purpose or finality, as I was saying, but purpose, if you want, will be served by the goal. I have a sister who is 14 years younger than me, and my mother used the same procedure with her. When she was going to do something, her eyes were opened enormously, and she would say, "Mom, what have you got into the eyes? What's the problem?" Oh, my mother was very, very, very angry, because she saw that everything the opening of the eyes worked very well with the rest of the children, the sons, but the daughter was different. I mean, every procedure has an expiry date. Every procedure has an expiry date. It's not about us teaching. Well, it's not about the students learning how we learn, what our procedures are. No, it's everything is about we teaching the best way they can learn. How can I use different procedures to the paramount goal? We need to stop learning from the brain of the teacher so as to try to teach from the point of view of the brain of the student. And I was wondering whether AI is going to be another brain that is teaching. We're going to have more brains. Well, we need to focus our work from the point of view of the brain of the student. Maybe we will have to take into account new factors, the teacher's factors. In this sense, protecting the wish to learn would be the goal, and the full development of the person would be the purpose. So this is the thorough development of the person. Subjects are means. They are not goals in themselves. And according to this procedure, goal and purpose that everyone is going to determine in their own life, for some procedure is going to be one item, and for others the purpose will be what for others is the procedure. So the full development of the person through AI might be one of the goals. So the values will change because you are using this as a goal or a purpose or a procedure. Memorizing. This is an important word. But we were saying that subjects are means, they are not goals in themselves, because the goal is the thorough development of the person or the student. So the question is, what do I need to memorize? Should I use AI to further ask, what do I need to memorize? Why don't we change the scheme and we wonder, what do they have to remember? Why are we not thinking the right thoughts? With or without AI, doesn't matter. I mean, why are we confusing what is different with business as usual? Well, I am interested in what they need to remember. They need to remember they dared. They need to remember that there are many alternatives. I don't know what they need to remember. Well, AI is going to help us overcome the obstacles of content. Yes, but I wonder whether AI is going to help you acquire knowledge. You cannot be confused by this. I mean, maybe one day they will mean the same, but not now. So we need to tell apart the wishes of the teachers and the needs of the students. Obviously, if they need to sleep to motivate them to continue awakened would be a nonsense. And in this sense, we need to distinguish the wishes of the teacher from the needs of the students. Am I saying AI is bad? No, not at all. I mean, on the opposite. I know that marvels, it does marvels, but I remember one day that a child said after spending a full day with the San Salvador school, I said, I'm leaving. And the child said to me, oh no, can you stay and play with me? I said, no, I need to leave. And he said, yeah, okay, but when you are small like me, you come to my school and we play together. It was very clear to him. The purpose was to play together. The goal, I should be in his school, at his school. The procedure, I should become a child again. So we are their opportunity, and they are our opportunity as well. The opportunity of the teacher is the learner, and the opportunity of the learner is the teacher. The AI is the assistant of one opportunity, but is not an opportunity in itself. The opportunity is you. Hey, I need to use AI because I've been told blah, 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 blah. Yeah, of course. But you have to distinguish the light from the light pole, because there are many activities that are very high light poles, but they don't shed any light. They don't cast a light. So you need to distinguish both concepts. There is a signal that all of us need to remember. It is a triangular signal, red color, with two children that are wearing rucksacks. And you normally see this at school entrances or just before school entrances. And then one person was requested, do you know what's the meaning of this sign? Yes. Children are coming out of school. And they said, well, coming out or coming in? No, it has to be out because they are running away. It cannot be they are entering the institution. No. Okay, so why don't we do something? Why don't we see what is going to allow us to put this sign upside down so that they could run to enter? Well, the main tool, the essential tool for the teacher is to listen. That makes children run to enter into school. This is an essential tool. I remember when I was a child, I was at a school where everybody was telling you what the others were thinking about something instead of you being asked what your opinion was. I wonder whether AI is going to be kind of this. Maybe too much. One teacher tells 4-year-old girls, what asks them, what does your mom do? And one of the children said, well, my mom is visiting homes and asking questions. And the mother said, questionnaires, surveys? And the child said, yes, questionnaires, surveys, and all kinds of things. Well, there is a joke in Spanish that cannot be translated into English. I'm sorry. So you can laugh if you want. Anyway, this is very good, but we are not deepening because we are not taught to listen to others, listen attentively. What do you mean by that, José Antonio? Well, I mean that when two people need to communicate, the person speaking informs from their experiences and their knowledge, but the person listening interprets from their experiences and knowledge. So that we have communication, at least one of the two needs to start from the experiences and the knowledge of the other one. This is listening. Wonder to ask yourself why they say this, why and how and when. Yeah, for the teacher, they are surveys. But for the child, this is very different. She doesn't really understand what the mother is doing. Traditional pedagogy used to say, well, I'm the teacher, please follow me. And when we had these meetings and parents would go to these mentoring or individual coaching, let's say, meetings, the teacher would say, well, the child is not following me, because the student back then had to adapt himself or herself to the experiences and the knowledges of the teacher. I think that artificial intelligence can provide us with some responses to some of the questions. The question is, how many follow me? Or is the question, how many can I follow? Well, this is precisely the transfer of knowledge. Well, the transfer of any situation in life. A father that will have the 3-year-old daughter with him because the mother is a nurse and she needs to be working, and the father needs to look for the socks to dress her up. And he asks the child, where does your mom keep the socks? And she says, here, and she points at her feet. Why? Because the experiences and the knowledge of one person is not the experiences and the knowledge of another person. You need to listen. You need to find the other person, and to find, you need two pillars where the listening event is supported on humor and love. These are the two pillars of education, I think. Humor, that is the attitude. You allow the other to come close to you or come closer. When I say humor, I don't mean telling jokes. No, this is not humor. This is not even to be kind to people. No, I mean humor is to do things that allow others to come closer to you. And humor is the attitude you approach the others. This is the binomial, count on me, I count on you. This is an opportunity. Do not confuse goal or opportunity or the procedure or the purpose with the assistant of an opportunity. The brain perceives and feels, and you know that today there is no super specialist in AI in the world that says that always. Well, we heard some words about creativity and emotions, and the previous speaker was telling us that you need to be you who control. But emotions are paramount. We generate ideas not only thanks to what we perceive and we think, but why, or through the feelings, the emotions that we generate on others. That is what decides the answer we get or the response we get. If this is like this and the AI does not have any feelings, there will be answers that cannot be defined or predefined. Now we speak about affective or inclusive maths, or pleasant maths. Well, maths are maths. It's a discipline that is defined by its nature. So, maths. You are the person who feels. You are the person who is inclusive or not. And the pleasant or unpleasant person is you. You and nobody else. So, sometimes we are confused about the procedure, the goal, and the purpose. We are now in the 10th Felipe Segovia Symposium. And when we speak about technology or AI, I say, well, with all the marvelous things that we have around us, couldn't we be able to create a teaching environment that would enable us to teach things forever? Have you ever wondered, what can you teach forever? What can you learn forever? Maybe we should write this question. What can you learn forever? Some years ago, I remember I was having a coffee with Felipe Segovia in his office here in Villafranca, and we were talking about maths. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. Well, it was mathematics, right? And he was showing me some photographs. He was very, very proud of what was in the photos and what he was showing me in the photos. And he was explaining the meaning of it. In one photo, you could see how he broke some chains in an educational system. In another one, how he overcame some habits so as to find results. In another one, how he convinced through respect and he advanced with work. In another one, how he added understanding and understanding to knowledge, and how there was an extreme complexity with innovation. I come back to the same question: what can you learn forever? Maybe this changes depending on the person, and the persons, and education changes depending on the persons. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, really. Thank you very much, José Antonio, for your words. Do you know that the organization of this symposium and your participation is generating an impact both on a socio-educational and environmental level? To talk to us about it, we asked Paula Castilla, Director of Social Impact at SEC Education Group, to come on stage. Good morning, everyone. Guillermo and Ivan were saying it was very difficult to introduce yourself after the director and the CEO. And I also have a very difficult, a difficult position after all these presentations. and all your eyes fixed on me, but you're also thinking already about the coffee break. I'm going to be short, and I want to thank the high level of these presentations. The last 2 years, we've been trying to accelerate our sustainability practices. And even though there is big room for improvement, this is a fact. We've been starting to include very relevant novelties in our everyday work. And we are, for the first time, measuring the total of our CO2 emissions as an institution, which is called the carbon footprint, which is the environmental negative impact, or the negative environmental impact that we provoke every day through our teaching activities, just due to the lights, the air conditioning, the fuel we use to come to the venue, or the maintenance of the fire extinguishers, or the sports activities. All these emissions combined create the carbon footprint. In many cases, this is unavoidable or inevitable, but what can organizations do to fight against this? Well, we can measure the carbon footprint, not so much for having a figure, but because we need to diagnose the situation and identify where are we having more impact, more emissions, and therefore to establish reduction plans and actions that will help us minimize this carbon footprint. And once we know it, we can compensate for it. Normally, this is done through planting trees, but the most important thing behind is the care and the later maintenance of those trees over the years. In SEC Education Group, we are doing both things. We've measured the footprint, and just out of curiosity, on the 2023-2024, 3,225 tons of CO2 among all schools and the Camilo Cela University. And of course, we want to improve this. And now we are at the sweet moment of these results, so the compensation I'm talking about, right? And this is a very sweet moment because we could not have a better partner. The Trees for Humanity NGO, which is founded by one alumni, one pupil of SEC El Castillo, which is, and we are going to open our SEC forest. 10,000 trees are going to be planted in rural communities in Kenya and Uganda, favoring the job creation of the local communities. But we are going to recover deforested areas in the north of Spain, in the Cantabrian area. When you were giving the badge, you have a little pot with mint seeds, and this is an example or a symbol of the trees that we're going to plant, representing the whole SEC community. And this little pot is not a normal pot. I mean, it's created through the collaboration with the Prodis Foundation, whereby disabled young people have been preparing and ensuring the logistics so that all of us would receive one of these pots. I think this was a nice thing to share, a nice event, a nice idea. And now I'm going to focus on the 10th Felipe Segovia Symposium. We are going to measure the impact generated by us today. We are going to project a QR code on the screen, and I will ask you to code this QR code, and because we want to be consistent with these new practices that we have been incorporating in our everyday work. You're going to find 2 mini blocks. The first one is because we want to know the social impact, and we are going to ask you, what do you expect of such a day as today in terms of inspiration or learning? in terms of connections between colleagues and universities? And how are you integrating AI in your everyday activities? This is the other question, because when we finish this symposium, we want to check this immediate footprint. And the next block is the more environmental part, because we have been gathering information on what is happening here and what is necessary to organize. I'm talking about the catering, the generator that we have in the low generation tent. I'm talking about the hundreds of colleagues that are connected with us on streaming today. But it is very important to know, how have you reached, have you connected with us today? As it couldn't be otherwise, we're going to compensate this as we did in the past symposium, the Global Education Forum, and please help us.
And that's it on my side. We're enjoying this a lot, but coffee is cooling us, so thank you all. Thank you very much for all of you who have spoken in this first part of the day. We're going to start the work sessions. We're waiting for you back before 3 in the same tent to be able to start on time the afternoon sessions. We remind you that you must go now to the SEC School El Castillo, where the work sessions will take place. Before entering the classroom, you can have a coffee. On the map that you have on the screen right now, there are the pavilions where the presentations will be made. Review your itinerary and follow the colleagues, the stewardesses from protocol, who are at the door of the tent. Food will happen in the sports pavilion, and there will be a sale of souvenirs with a symbolic price. And this will be in favor of the net damages. We hope you enjoy the work session. Thank you.
I wanna shelter you, but with the beast inside, there's nowhere we can